Good morning. Pat Benage here, the evolution coach, creator of the 6-Week Shift, and author of the inspirational blog Soul Talk. Actually, today what I'd like to talk about, and it's kind of related to some of the things I talked about last week. There's a lot of dissonance in the world, and particularly right now. And people are trying to figure out, what's going on here, and what's right, what's true, what's the right way. They're looking for leaders. They're looking for somebody to show them, not even necessarily to show them. Some of them, yes, to show them, but a lot of people, I don't know if you're having the same sort of thing, but a lot of people I'm noticing they have all of these frustrations and feelings inside that they're trying to find somebody who understands, who can give a voice to those feelings, and that they think will somehow have the means to right the ship, so to speak. And there's various ways in this country and in the world. It's going on all over the place. And what I really want to get to today is to try to move the conversation in a different direction, and to begin to realize that we've created this mess. We've created the dissonance, and there's a purpose in that. But if we really want to change, then change has to come from within. And before I can change anything about this outer experience, for me personally, and for us collectively, before we can change that, we have to know what we want it to be, and really the secret to knowing that is to knowing who I am. All the great masters over time have said, know thyself. That's at the core of every teaching. Know thyself. And so, who are you? Who am I? And I talked about this last time, but I want to, and I'm going to spend maybe a few weeks of this doing it, because I can't do it in just one little thing, and I don't want to throw out some 1.5, 2 hour long, video to you. So I'm going to do it in segments. But what I want to talk about today is some big picture stuff. Some big picture stuff. And this is, of course, my view. And I would ask you not to believe me just because I say it. Don't believe what I say, but don't discard it because it doesn't match what you believe. Consider that if your life isn't how you'd like it to be, that maybe that's because you don't really know who you are. That your idea of who you are might not be accurate, might not be the whole truth. And if it's not, then there might be something in what I offer that could expand your vision of who you are. And for me, I mean, I can tell you these things, but it's your experience that's going to matter. Just like it's my experience that has ultimately determined my view. I've been taught by my teacher what is true, and I've been skeptical of that until I experienced it as truth. So I'm going to give you this perspective that I have in this moment about who I am, who we are, and I just ask you to keep sort of an open mind, an open heart, and to just listen. Let it sink in and see if there's a piece that resonates with you in any way. Because it's only in allowing information that doesn't completely jive with what you believe that you expand your view. Now, if your life is perfect the way it is, you feel great, then just, just let that be. If there are areas of your life that aren't matching what you feel like they ought to be, then just listen. Because I'm going to paint a little bit bigger picture than maybe some of you see at the moment. And again, it's what I've been taught, but more importantly, it's how I've experienced myself being. So, in order to get to this view, what I'm going to do is kind of take you through in steps. And so today, we're going to start with where we're from. And I'm going to gradually, over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to gradually bring us to where we are. And see if that works for you. So, where are we from? I mean, more than, well, I was born in Kansas City, Kansas, and grew up in a little town called Fort Scott, Kansas, and I'm from my mom and my dad, and I'm from, through past generations, my genetics have come from however far back that we could trace them. More than where I'm from, more than where this human came from. Where did the essence of who I am come from? Where did this consciousness come from. I mean, some people believe we're just born into this one life. That's when our life begins. That's when consciousness arises. It's the mind. And when we transition, when we pass away physically, that's it. My experience is that that's not the whole truth. The human part of us has that experience of the one life. But this essence, this energy, this consciousness that is speaking through this vehicle right now didn't begin when I was born October 1st, 1958. Didn't begin when I was conceived by my parents 9 months before that. It began long ago. As the quote that I had several weeks back from Frederick Buechner says, longer ago than time and farther away than space. Before time and space existed, I existed. And we calculate, best scientists calculate that this universe is a little over 14 billion years old. Soul existed before that. I know that's hard to imagine. It's hard to fathom that soul existed before that, because humans, at least in this world, didn't exist before that. And some of us have been taught that humans are the only ones with souls. Well, that's not true. Again, it's my experience. It's what I've been taught. It's my experience. It's what I know from my perspective currently. Again, don't believe me, just observe. See what's true for you. So who I am, soul, if that existed before the universe, then who created me? Who created soul? How did I come into being? And what is this essence? What is soul, really? And whether you believe in God or you want to talk about God or something else, source, the divine, energy, consciousness, whatever terminology you want to use, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm familiar with any of them, and so I use them sort of interchangeably. I can call it God, I can call it source, I can call it. In my teachings, the name that's given to the absolute is Anami Purush, which simply means in Sanskrit, nameless power. Seems like as good a title as anything. It's a power so great that you can't even come up with a name for it. Except that you do, Anami Purush. But it's more a description than a name. And that, to me, that's the source of everything. And this consciousness, this power, is also evolving and changing it's everything, and it's evolving and changing by the bits and pieces of it that are expanding into this physical realm, as well as all of the multi-dimensions that exist. So in order for Anami Purush to experience and know itself, it must manifest, because if it's everything, then there's no relativity. It's hard to define something in relationship to itself. And so it manifests itself into infinite aspects. The soul is simply a piece of this nameless power. It's simply a piece. And soul has come into, it has chosen through the manifestation of Anami, the soul has chosen to take on these layers that are filters and tools and just items that are necessary in order to experience itself as separate from the one, because we're all one. And it has chosen to come into existence in order to experience all aspects of itself, all possibilities. And as you can imagine, if those possibilities are infinite, then life is infinite. Soul is infinite. In truth, I don't know if soul has ever had a beginning, or if soul has always been. For all practical purposes, soul has always been. And in the sense that it is a piece of this nameless power that has always been. And soul's experience did have a beginning. Soul's experience began when soul started to take on these layers, and soul devolved from the one, the absolute, through taking on first a layer that was a soul body, so to speak. So this piece, this divine spark, takes on a soul body, an identification, an individual skin in order to be able to start to experience all of the different aspects, because it has to have relativity in order to do that. It has to have a relationship between it and something else in order to define itself. So it takes on the soul body, and then this individual spark it was a collective spark before. Now it's an individual spark that then takes on the mental body. It takes on a mental body, a mind, so that now it has the ability to analyze, to see relativity, to see duality, to begin to pick pieces apart and see the relationship, see the relativity of things. And that's important to be able to define itself. And so it takes this mental body on. And then it also takes on a causal body. The causal body is the timeline. Because where soul comes from, time doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. Space and time don't exist because everything is one. And so it has to take on this time, this causal body, which then allows it to experience cause and effect. It allows it to experience how things change over time. Experience the process of change. Because it's only known oneness. So it takes on a mental body, it takes on a causal body, and it takes on an emotional body, an astral body, that now it has, rather than this peaceful bliss that has been its experience prior to this moment, it now gets the opportunity to feel emotions. And now it can get a feeling of good or bad. It starts to divide those emotions. It starts to see differences between one experience and another and feel a difference. So all of these are tools that soul is taking on. Their coverings, their, it's like layers of skin, that sensations that it's now able to have. And then finally, after this long devolution process, it will take on a physical body. And in the beginning of that, soul's physical body in this universe was an atomic level. Just an atom. Just a little piece of stardust. Actually, souls collectively created the stars. Created the sun that's brightly shining in my face today. Wonderful. And in the creation of that, created the physical. It took that energy, it became this energy, these elements, and it took those elements and created physical bodies. It created stars, it created planets, and ultimately through the experience of being stars, of being planets, of being air, of being all of that, it then becomes life in the gaseous state, and then the solid state, and then the liquid state, and then it becomes what we have referred to as life, from the plants, from the bacteria, from the fish in the sea, the birds in the air. We've been through all of that. We've been through all of those stages of our physical, our devolution into the physical, and then our physical evolution that begins. So we devolve into this physical place as a soul, and then we begin the evolutionary process of the physical. And at the same time, soul is still devolving, becoming more separate. As the energy that's in a star, soul is still a collective energy. Even though it's individual, it's collective because it's so connected with the other souls. And it's only as we become more physical, we become separate. So as atoms, we're tied to other like atoms, and so we're connected still. We're still a collective. And then we start to combine with others, and we become molecules. And then the molecules become compounds. And those compounds become minerals. And over time, the energies that we've manifested ourselves to be, create what we've called life, which is which are the plants, are the trees, are the all of the things that, until we get to the point where we actually have the ability to move about. And then now, as humans, we've also taken on this ego. Ego doesn't really come about till you get to the human level, not in full force. And now we're the most separate we could possibly be. Yet, who we are inside, that essence of who am I, is still that same divine spark that started this journey who knows how long ago. Certainly billions of years, but actually before time, from beyond space. And I am still that same divine spark, and that same divine spark is now desirous of experiencing itself again as the oneness. And so that's the real journey that we're on. Again, believe me or don't believe me, it doesn't matter. Don't believe me. Don't believe me. Go within. See what's true for you. Your truth might be something completely different, and that's okay. That's perfect. My experience tells me that this is my truth. And maybe I'm just living in a virtual reality and this is my truth, period. But I believe that this is our truth. And it is time for me, at least, to realize this. And in realizing this, is what I'm actually saying is that is to make it real, to be that, to actually experience myself as that. Not just think it, not just intellectually understand it, but to experience it, to feel it, to truly know it. So I hope this has sparked something for you, and I will continue this conversation next time and talk a little bit more in depth about who we are. But in the meantime, have a fabulous week, and remember to live life from the inside out.